Greetings everyone, and welcome back to Pep Organ. Today's video is how do you compose at the organ? Now note, the question is not how do you compose for the organ, how do you actually compose at an organ? This is a question I've been wondering for a while because we've just launched our Pep Organ Composition Competition for 2024. Details are of course in the description. You've got a few weeks to compose something. But since I'm also a composer for the organ, I do sometimes wonder about other people and how they compose when they're actually sitting at the organ. Now, there are all sorts of different ways that people might compose. They might record themselves, for instance. They might start writing the music straight away. Maybe they get the inspiration purely at their desk and they write all the music at the desk. I'm unfortunately not one of those lucky people, so I always have to compose at the instrument that I'm composing for, or at least try and imagine that I am. But with the organ, particularly when I'm writing out a complex piece with pedals and manuals and a lot of changes, I really have to be at an instrument to do it. But this is the problem because organs are somewhat not very ergonomic in terms of a setup for composing. If I'm going to be leaning forward here to compose, my arms are going to get tired very quickly. And if I do that, I can probably get a sketch, and I tend to write out my sketches for my compositions on a piece of paper. But I don't write out all the details. It just gets too tiresome to be up here writing. But then, what am I going to do to write in the rest of the parts? Well, like many people these days, I have a laptop and I use Sibelius for my composition tool. And on Sibelius, you've got the advantage of having a bit more planning and you can produce more bars. And of course, you don't have to write it all down. You can use a mouse and a keyboard. But again, this assumes that you're actually at a desk. When I'm actually at an organ, I don't really know how to compose ergonomically. I can put the laptop here, but then I'm going to be constantly playing here and then having to input some notes here. I can put it on the other side, but have the same problem. If Hauptwerk, or whatever you're using here as a computer, has your composing tool on it, then of course you can go to one of these and do something there. But again, it's still a lot of reaching around. You're going to have to get a mouse. You're going to have to maybe put the mouse on here. It's not really ideal. And then the keyboard, I'm going to have to pull the keyboard sort of onto my lap or something. I would have to pull the keyboard all the way here onto my lap, and that's about the best as I can possibly do, having the keyboard sort of precariously on my lap here so that I can type in some inputs. I've got the mouse there. That's not too bad, but then of course, again, you have to play. I have to use my feet to play the pedals, so it's still not ideal. So I thought this little humorous video might be something that we can have a discussion about in the comments below. How do you compose at the organ? If you are a composer for the organ, I'd love to hear what you do. I've told you my methods. Essentially, the best I can possibly get it is sort of doing a sketch on paper here, and then I end up having the laptop sort of on my lap here, writing out the music as I kind of work out the manuals and all the changes. But it's really not ideal, and I know it's not very good for my back. So if there is an alternative or something more creative that someone has come up with, I'd love to hear about it. I know that iPads these days can compose here, but still you've got that problem of having to reach forward too much. Just as, you can cause yourself a lot of strain just by playing on the swell for 2 hours. It's the same kind of motion, having to move your arms about. I don't think it's ideal. And honestly, perhaps maybe there is no ideal way to compose at the organ. Maybe you have to be a genius and you can just sit at a desk and write all the parts out without any need of the organ at all. And I imagine that maybe Bach did that and all of the great organ composers, and maybe I'm just not right there. But I'd love to hear what you think, and thanks for watching. And remember, if you're a composer and you're writing for the organ, please consider entering my Pep Organ Composition Competition. There is prize money, and I hope to see you soon.